Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, great. At this time, all roles have been filled. We have two speeches. One by Maurice. He'll be redoing his icebreaker. And Lawrence will be speaking about researching topic. We look forward to hearing two dynamic speakers speak. And we'll start off by hearing our first speaker, Maurice. He'll be doing his icebreaker.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, today I will tell you a little bit about myself, Maurice Heidelberg, and hopefully you will get to know me a little better after this speech. I grew up as an Air Force brat. My father was in the Air Force. He served in the Air Force for 20 years. And even though my parents are native Mississippians, me and my sister were born in the state of Delaware. We started off after I was born in Delaware, and about a month and a half after I was born, we moved to Washington, D.C., where my father was working for the DIA, the Defense, the Intelligence Agency. So I don't remember too much. I remember enough about Washington, D.C., because I was a toddler then. But we lived in an apartment in the city. And I remember going out to places like Sears and Barbershop and a few other stores that were based in the area. And then after we lived in Washington, D.C., we moved to Fort Meade, Maryland. And my father worked for the NSA, I believe, if I have that correct. And there is where I started school. And I have a lot more memories of Maryland than I do of Washington, D.C. And I remember one of the memorable things is the court that we lived on. We had turf wars with the kids from the next court. And we didn't do it through fist fighting. We did it through riding bikes and crashing bikes into the other person. That was, I mean, I'm not going to say it's fun, but that was just how that turned out. And my first few years of school, I had fun and I learned quite a few things. And incidentally, my sister played the flute in the band, and they actually had made a record album of one of their performances, which our family still has today. And that's a memorable thing about living in Maryland. And then after we left Maryland, we moved to New Hampshire. And we lived there for 5 years. And going back to the other places, we lived in Washington, D.C. for 4 years, and we lived in Maryland for 4 years. In New Hampshire, we saw a lot of snow, and I think we were there for a blizzard. And I happened to attend, I attended 2 Red Sox games in Boston. I remember going to the Boston Museum of Science once or twice, and the aquarium that they had there. And then I guess one of the other memorable things was I learned about the accents of those in New Hampshire and in Massachusetts, in New England in general. And incidentally, I had a cousin who lived in Maine, Bath, Maine. And there I started playing sports, baseball, basketball, football. As a matter of fact, that was the only one year there was it was the only year that I played organized football in my entire life. So I wasn't going to become a football player in the NFL or in college or in high school or anything like that. Moving on, after living in New Hampshire, we lived in Michigan. And at that time, I was in junior high school, and I started high school that year. And we stayed there for less than 2 years. As a matter of fact, we stayed there for 21 and a half months. And there, my sister graduated from high school just prior to my father retiring. And I still had 3 years of high school left when my father retired. But when my father retired, that's when we settled in Mississippi, Meridian, Mississippi. And there I finished my high school, and then I joined the military, and then I went to college after leaving active duty in the military, and then the rest is history. A few little things looking back, I learned about meeting different types of people, because when you're military, you meet all different types of people based on race, religion, whatever topic you want to think of. And that's one of the things I've learned about being a military brat. Another thing about being a military brat is you have friends in one place, and then when your father gets reassigned, or your mother, whoever's in the military, you lose those friends because you move into another place, and you have to gain new friends and start all over again. And I did that 4 times, and I ended up going from kindergarten to 12th grade. I ended up going to 7 schools in 4 states, and my sister went to 6 schools in 3 states and DC. So that is my life in a nutshell, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Maurice. I feel like I've known Maurice for a while, but every time he speaks, I feel like I get a little bit more of what it's like to be Maurice. And it sounds like it was an interesting experience. Now, at this time, I'm going to introduce our word of the day, which was vicarious. And we could have our grammarian tell us about the word. Sandy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. The word of the day is vicarious. It is an adjective, and it means performed, exercised, received, or suffered in place of another. Like, an example is vicarious punishment. Another definition is taking the place of another person or thing, acting or serving as a substitute. 3, felt or enjoyed through imagined participation in the experience of others, the vicarious thrill as an example. 4, psychology, noting or pertaining to a situation in which one organ performs part of the functions normally performed by another. And I'm also in charge of filler words, ahs, etc.
I think that was a very thorough definition for it. Appreciate it. Thank you. And at this time, we will have our second speaker. This is Lauren. He will be speaking about research and top.
Mr. Topic Master, or Mr. Toastmaster, act your age. Fellow Toastmasters, act your age.
Why?
Haven't you, my fellow Toastmasters, how many times have you heard that? One of the great insanities of our lives is that we want to act our age. As a child, do we want to act our age? No, we want to be older. I want to be old enough to do whatever it is you want to do. Then, as an adult, we want to be younger. Well, I remember when I was young, I could do so many more things than I can do now. Why can't we just act our age? One question we might ask is, what does it mean to act our age? I have a little story about a young lady who, I guess maybe, refused to act her age. So, this lady named Rosalind Savage, she was acting her age. She went to school. She studied hard. She became a powerful person in business. She was a financial officer in a company. She owned her own financial advising company. She was making multiple six-figure incomes. She was acting her age. But she wasn't happy. So she decided she was not going to act her age anymore. She decided she was going to do something different. She sold everything she owned and she bought an ocean rowboat and decided that she was going to row across the Atlantic Ocean all by herself. No follow-up boat, just her and the water and the oars. She was definitely not acting her age. So, she decided that that's what she was going to do. She hired someone to train her to row, and just a few short months later, she was all alone on the ocean. She had a dream, and she decided to follow it. But she did not act her age. You can imagine what it was that her family said to her. Roz, act your age. You got this, you got a good job, you got a good income. Why are you going to do such a crazy thing? But she didn't want to act her age. So she started rowing across the ocean. She had this second-hand boat. She had solid oak oars, and she just rowed and rowed and rowed. Everything on her boat broke down except her GPS and her automated identification system, where the people who were in charge of that race could keep track of her movements. The only thing on the boat, her stove broke down. She's eating cold food. So she's rowing along. When she got to the other side of the ocean, she came from Europe and went all the way to the Caribbean. She had started out with 4 oars. By the time she got to the Caribbean, she had 2 oars that were being held together with patching twine and duct tape, because all 4 of her oars broke during her rowing. But she made it. But she was not done. She did not want to go back and act her age. The next year, she decided that she was going to row from San Francisco to Hawaii, all by herself in a little boat. 36-foot boat. Well, she barely got out of San Francisco and a big storm came. After 3 days, her boat had been flipped over numerous times and she had broken her shoulder. Now, as part of the funding that she received, she was blogging to a grade school. And the teacher at the grade school saw what had happened to her and recognized it as a broken shoulder and called the Coast Guard. They said, nope. And they dragged her back to port. But she didn't stop there. The next year, she did row all the way to Hawaii. She's not going to act her age. She rowed all the way from Hawaii to the South Pacific Islands. She's not acting her age. She rowed all the way from there to New Zealand, to Australia, and finally to Africa. She definitely was not going to act her age. So, now, after all this time, she has become a well-respected speaker. She has started many organizations to help young ladies who want to get into rowing and rowing competitions and Olympics and so on. She is not going to act her age. And as a sailor myself who would love to travel around the world, I like to think that I'm living vicariously through her. What does it mean to act your age? Does it mean to follow the patterns that society dictates for you? Or does it mean to follow the age of your heart? I say we should act the age of our heart and do things that we are passionate about. My fellow Toastmasters, I propose, I challenge you to act your age. Act the age of your heart. Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. Lawrence, that was very inspiring. Acting the age is something that you have to consider as you get older. Do you want to follow your heart, or do you want to live vicariously through someone else? And that's an option. And at this time, we're going to move to tabletop portion of the evening, and Justin will be acting as our tabletop.
All right, fellow Toastmasters, do I have a volunteer for a first tabletop? Come on. All right. So what is your biggest phobia?
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I would have to say that my biggest phobia is not getting up here and speaking in front of you guys. It's not even working hard like some people think other people's phobia is in today's society. My biggest phobia is heights. I'm 5'4". I'm very glad I'm only 5'4". I have climbed mountains, I have climbed trees, generally ending up having hurt something on the way down because I did not come down as gracefully as I went up. I have done rope bridges across canyons even. And I still have yet to conquer the fear of heights. I would like to think that some people live vicariously through their fear of heights through my wonderful stories about having done most of the Appalachian Trail, including going over a few gorges via rope bridges when I was a teenager. But I'm still working on it. When I'm up there, I'm still sweating as much as sweating can possibly be happening. And practically hyperventilating and having a panic attack the whole time. So that is my biggest phobia, and maybe one day I will conquer it.
Thank you. I can certainly relate to that phobia and the being not very tall part also. Okay, do I have another volunteer? Okay, come on. Is it Nolan?
Yeah.
Nolan, what's your favorite place on earth?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, my favorite place on earth that I have seen to date is Hawaii. I was fortunate enough when I was in the Air Force to spend 3 years living on the island of Oahu. And from there, I visited some of the other islands, the island of Hawaii, Molokai, and it was marvelous. The climate. Think for a moment of a high of 92 degrees, a low of 52. And that's the records. Can you ask for anything better? The sun was shining brilliantly every day I was there. And yet, it rained for 30 minutes, almost each day. The rain was falling. You went to the beach. You may know it was raining. But 30 minutes later, it wasn't. And it was great. The weather was so pristine. The flowers were blooming. The fish, when you went snorkeling, and you lay upon the water and looked at the thousands of brilliantly colored fish swimming by. It was just marvelous. And that, my friends, is why I say that Hawaii is the greatest place that I have been.
I have to agree with you on that one.
Liquid sunshine, right?
Okay, let's do 2 more. Any other volunteers? Okay, Katie? Katie, what bad habits do you want to break?
What bad habits do I want to break? I think I'm taking a step by being here. I have a tendency to talk fast and talk with my hands when they don't have a purpose, as I'm doing now, and put in ums and uhs. And so that's one step is a bad habit that I have. I think another bad habit is that I can put people first too much. That self-care aspect is something that I generally work on, to remember to take time for myself, to put the needs of myself before others if in a reasonable stance. So I love my community of people and my church and my neighbors and roommates, but I find that I can also become unhappy with that too, and so that's a bad habit that I'm trying to break as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Heather? Heather, if I gave you $1,000 and told you that you had to spend it today, what would you buy?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. If I was given $1,000 today, it would be like really easy to spend it. The first thing I think about is a car, but you can't really get a good car with $1,000. So I'm not really sure what else I would buy, but I'm sure I could think of something like, I guess, some clothes and stuff, and some. I could always donate some money, and maybe I would buy some things for the Toastmasters Club, so it would be a little nicer. I don't know. Maybe some roller skates, some fancy roller skates, and I guess it's kind of a hard question because it seems like it'd be pretty easy to spend a lot of money, but I don't know. A car is what I would think of, but again, you can't really get a good car with $1,000. So I would find a way to spend it, but I'm not sure on what. Thank you.
Good delegation.
Yeah.
What are we doing on time? We have time for a couple more?
21. Yeah, we're about right on schedule.
Tammy? If you had to teach something, what would you teach?
Good evening, Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. If I were required to teach something, I would choose how to be in an excellent relationship. I'll choose that because I tend to like relationships, whether it's with girlfriends or whether it's a romantic relationship. I also wouldn't mind teaching about sex education and finances. Those are the things that I would love to teach. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thanks, Tammy. Yuen, would you like to do a table topic? Last one. Which is worse, failing or never trying? Which is worse, failing or never trying?
Maybe some exam for my certification. In United States, even you have a PhD degree, MD degree is useless. You have to have certification. So I have to take 3 times for my certification. But one is, every 2 of them I got them just one time I passed. But one I failed, and then I try again. But only one I never tried it because it's too difficult for me. It's about the medical license. So I cannot to be a doctor here because I have no license. I don't want to try it. It's too hard for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our table topics, and I'll relinquish the podium to our Toastmaster.
Just know some good topics. Tammy's gonna be teaching. You can always learn something new. Right. At this time, we move into the evaluation portion of our meeting. Evaluation is very important because we learn by being evaluated. We get some valuable critiques. And the lead our evaluation team will be Katie.
So I thought we had a really great meeting so far. We started on time, handled club business very well. We had 2 great speeches, and I'm going to live vicariously through Maurice, who got to be in a biker gang when he was little, and so that's kind of cool. And as well as learning how to act our age and the age of our heart from Lawrence. And so that's really good. So we're going to hear from our first evaluator, who's Tom.
So Maurice was giving his icebreaker tonight, and a couple of the questions that were asked was, how well did the audience get to know the speaker? I said we got to know him very well because we not only got to know who Maurice is, but how he got to be the person he is today through various stories of his childhood and growing up as a military brat, as he called it, and then becoming later somebody in the military. Did his speech reflect adequate preparation? I said yes. Did he speak clearly and audibly? I understood every word in spite of the fact that I was having to write stuff down at times. So definitely yes. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? I felt that it did. All the stories were the body. He had a very quick conclusion at the end, and he begun by just saying, I'm going to introduce myself today. I couldn't see if he had notes, but he may have, but I didn't see any, so I said that he did not use his notes. So what was the strong point? I said taking us through his life chronologically helped us to see him grow up. Also, the use of numbers and time frames helped us to follow the story of his life. So that was something he did really well. Something he could have done differently to improve. Slightly better eye contact with the audience. He was looking up a lot. He was looking down at the podium quite a bit in spite of not having notes. And so that more direct eye contact with the audience would have helped us get to know you better because we would have felt that more personal contact. And what I did like is that at the conclusion, he didn't just say, and this is who I am, but he said, this is what I've learned about growing up as a military brat. So it was a way for us to be able to learn something vicariously through Maurice.
Thank you, Tom, for a good evaluation, and Heather is going to evaluate Lawrence's speech.
This was Lawrence's Project 7, Research Your Topic, and the title of his speech was Act Your Age. So, how well did the speaker's topic apply to the audience? I think it applied very well because no matter what age group you are, you can kind of learn from the idea that as long as you're doing things, as long as you're alive, you should try to follow the things that you want to do and kind of carry out your dreams. So was the topic well researched? I think it was because he gave a lot of details in the story and he kind of took us through it pretty meticulously. How well did the speaker support his main points? I think, again, he did this very well. You gave a I think it was an unbelievable story kind of success. Like, I was actually thinking, like, this isn't really a true story. Because you were saying things like she paddled, like, I don't know, like to Africa and stuff, like a lot. And I was just like, no one has ever done that. It's impossible. But I thought it was a very, I mean, if somebody can actually do that, I think it's a very good example because what I like to think is that if they can do it, so can I. And that story kind of says that to me as a member of the audience. Was the support material appropriate for the point made? Yes. Did the speaker vary the types of support material? This is something that I kind of, this is the only thing I kind of had an issue with. It was a really great, like, example, like having the story, but I feel like if we had, like, more examples or other things about acting your age, then it could have helped us understand the topic a little better. How clear was the speaker's purpose? It was very clear, kind of just stressing to the audience to follow your dreams, again, to do what you want to do. Was the speech effectively organized? Yes. The story built, and at its conclusion, it was clear that it applied to everyone and that it's something that everybody can take something away from. Did the speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety? I think so. I think he used some gestures, so yes. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? Like I said before, maybe like other support material besides the story. And what did I like about the speech? I thought it was really creative and inspiring. I really liked when you said how kids want to be older and adults want to be younger, and then you said, why can't we act our age? And we've all heard it a lot, but I've never really thought about how we don't act our age when we kind of want to be younger or we want to be older. And so I thought that was really creative. And also used the literary device, I think it's called anaphora, where you, throughout the speech, you repeated act your age. And I thought that was a really good repetition to kind of like make it concrete in the audience head that your idea of the topic. So good job, Lawrence.
So now we're going to hear from Tammy for the grammarian's report.
Thank you so much. For Maurice, I didn't hear any filler words. Lawrence, I heard one, and he did use the word of the day, vicarious. Julius, I didn't hear any words. He used the word of the day. Tom, 2 filler words. He also used the word of the day. Nolan, I didn't count any filler words. Katie, 1 filler word, and she used vicarious, the word of the day. Heather, 3 filler words. Tammy, 1. I didn't hear any. And that's it. Thank you so much.
I did notice one grammatical error. Maurice said in his speech, when he was first he talked about Mississippi, and then he said, but me and my sister were born, it should have been my sister and I. One of well, there are 2 rules of grammar there. Number 1, whenever you speak of another person, their name goes first. The second thing, when you're speaking with 2 people, think about how you would speak if they were not involved. You would not say, me was born. Leave them out and just say, think about how it was with you, and you got it, but that's the only grammatical error I heard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you in with the timers report.
First speaker, Maureen. So 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Lawrence is 7 minutes, 26 seconds. Thomas is, table topic, Thomas is 1 minute, 29 seconds. Nolan. 1 minute, 44 seconds. Katie is 44 seconds. Heather is 1 minute, 8 seconds. Harvey is 43 seconds. Me is 1 minute, 14 seconds. Evaluation, the first one, Thomas, 2 minutes. Heather is 3 minutes, 45 seconds. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for a great evaluation of the meeting. I'll give the podium back over to Julius.
All right, those are good evaluations. At this time, we have an education overview. Okay. All right, we don't have an education overview. Mark, Nolan, would you like to have a few words? I haven't seen you in a while.
I've been here. Whoever's the treasurer, I need to pay my dues for the,
He's our new treasurer.
so how much do I owe you for the next 6 months?
6
That'd be,
months.
What do you need for the,
Yeah, is it dues coming, still coming April and October, don't you?
That's correct.
now, those are paid, and we'll be back in,
Yes, we're back in
perfect time,
business.
perfect time.
Perfect time.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Nolan, for coming back to the club. And if nothing else, we will need to welcome back to the president.
Thank you, Toastmaster. At this time, do we have an agenda for next week?
Agenda for next week. I'm sorry, I should have looked it up. I would like to mention while we are at it, that there is one thing that has been a recurring experience in this meeting that needs to be slightly adjusted. And that is that we don't actually have a podium here. A podium is what you put your feet on, and it's usually raised up a little bit above the normal floor. And that's where the lectern is located, so that you can stand on the podium behind the lectern. But we don't have a podium, so it would be just a lectern. Okay, speaking of which, so far on our meeting for the 17th, I have, let's see. I don't have any speakers next week. Is there anyone who has a speech ready for next week? Is there anybody who wants to have a speech ready for next week?
I can try.
So Heather, I'm going to put you in as a speaker, and I guess that's going to be your number 6, right? Speech number 6 on vocal variety. Okay, and anybody else? Going once, going twice?
If I'm here, I'll do an icebreaker, but I don't
Okay.
probably here.
Okay, we'll hook you in for an icebreaker on that. Okay, well, that's going to change that. Heather was down as the general evaluator. We'll change that out. Who would like to be a general evaluator? Anybody? Right offhand?
I'll do that.
Okay, so we'll have you as the general evaluator, and then we will have Cody as the first evaluator. It's got Kedrick down as second. I don't know if he's still coming or not. I have David as table topics. I don't know if he's going to be here. I have to change it. Mark, somehow I got Mark as Toastmaster, and he can't be Toastmaster because he's far away. So, you want to be a Toastmaster? Okay, we'll let you be Toastmaster. Tammy will be the Toastmaster for next week. There we go.
Okay, thank you there. Vice President of Education.
Oh, do not forget that we have elections coming up, and you guys have a glorious opportunity to be able to take on new roles as part of the administration of this club. So please take the time and effort to educate yourself on what you can do and step out of your comfort zone and help our club.
If there is nothing else, and another reminder, if anyone has any type of dues to pay, I have a computer available, and Lawrence has his iPad available. If there is nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
I know